So welcome everybody to our session with Rabbi David Aaron. Rabbi David Aaron is a spiritual visionary and master educator who's invested over 3 decades into delving into life's biggest question marks and sharing Torah's transformational wisdom to adults and young adults and teenagers. And he is the dean and founder of Israelite, which is an international organization and center for Jewish learning in Jerusalem's Old City. If you're ever in the Old City, go visit and you'll have a beautiful rooftop view of the Western Wall as you pray. And also Yeshivat Oraita, which offers 1 to 2 year programs for high school graduates. He's the author of 8 paradigm-shifting books that include Endless Light, Seeing God, Love is My Religion, The Secret Life of God, Inviting God In, Living a Joyous Life, and The God-Powered Life. Rabbi Aaron lives in Jerusalem with his wife, Hannah, and their 7 children and grandchildren. And for me personally, Rabbi Aaron has really helped me navigate how I see God, how I see Hashem, how I teach about Hashem, and really, really important, I think, for our generation especially. And without further ado, welcome, Rabbi Aaron.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for setting this up. And I love to see all these shining faces. Are you all from different parts of the United States?
Yeah. Feel free to type in the chat box where you guys are tuning in from.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Wow, look at that. Got the ingathering of the exiles. Very nice. Okay, my name is Rabbi David Aaron, and thank you for allowing me to share some thoughts with you. What I'm going to share with you, I'm quite sure you're going to like. Why am I so sure? Because what I'm going to talk about is something I know you're interested in. I am so sure you're interested because what I'm going to talk about, everybody's interested in, because I'm going to talk about you. Who are you? I've never met anybody who's not interested in hearing that. And especially, I want to talk about, I think, the most important question that we're all struggling with. And the answer we give that question has far-reaching ramifications in terms of quality of our life. And that question is, what is the source of genuine, unconditional self-worth? Because if we can genuinely feel good about ourselves, then things are going to flow, you know? And most people, they know the golden rule, love your neighbor as yourself. But very rarely do people realize that that's predicated on loving yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. I mean, I know some people, I would prefer they not love me the way they love themselves. I would hope they would do better than that. And so I want to talk about you. I want to talk about self-worth. And the source that I will be working from is the Kabbalah. So let me just give you a little quick introduction to what the Kabbalah is and isn't. The Kabbalah is not an independent religion. The Kabbalah is basically the secrets of Torah, the secrets behind Judaism. You might say it's the science that Judaism is based on. And I kind of fell into Kabbalah when I was 18. I was at the Western Wall, and a very religious looking man came up to me. He had a long black beard and long side curls and a long black coat. And in a broken English, he said, "I teach Kabbalah. You want to learn Kabbalah?" Now, what did I know when I was 18 about Kabbalah? The only thing I knew about it was forbidden. That's what they told me in Hebrew school. That it's forbidden to study Kabbalah until you're 40 years old. How many of you heard that one before? All right, well, that's all I knew. And so this man comes up to me. I had this huge red afro, and I wasn't really into my Judaism at the time. And he comes up to me and says, "I teach Kabbalah. You want to learn Kabbalah? I know it's forbidden, so I say yes." That's a perfect combination for me, something that's forbidden and yet Jewish. And so took me under his wings and started teaching me the secrets of the universe. And they were indeed very secret, because the only English he knew was, "I teach Kabbalah. You want to learn Kabbalah," and the rest was in Hebrew. I didn't know Hebrew. So it was really mystical, but I stuck with it. And now here I am many, many, many years later, to share with you some secrets from the secrets. And I think this is the most, if the creator of the world would give me the opportunity to teach just one class to the entire world. So far, the offer hasn't been made, but I understand Rabbi Boris is going to be setting that up, a class for the entire world. This would be what I would share, because this has been life-changing for me. And I've shared this with thousands of people all over the world. I want to talk about who are you? Who are you? And by the way, I'm going to kind of just download, if you don't mind, and then I really want to hear your questions at the end. So let me just give you a paradigm, a whole piece, and then we can, and I really hope that you'll have questions, because that's the part I like the most, is your questions. So a number of years ago, I had a student over for Friday night dinner, for Shabbat dinner, and she was talking about her family. She had mentioned in passing that her mother was in Japan. All right. Well, so I said, oh, that's interesting. What's your mother doing in Japan? And she said, well, my mom, she's looking for herself. Okay, fine. She's looking for herself. That's, people look for themselves. But my daughter, who's Israeli, all my kids are Israeli. They understand English, but they not tremendously well. So they would translate English into Hebrew in their head. So my daughter was maybe 5 years old, 6 years old at the time, and she's trying to follow the conversation. And she seemed to be getting it until the girl said that her mother's in Japan looking for herself. Well, my daughter translated that into Hebrew in her head and didn't know what to do with that. So she turns to me and she says, Abba, Daddy, Mayamra? What did she say? So I now take this very familiar phrase, Ima Shala, her mother, Hiba Japan, she's in Japan, and she is learning for herself. She's looking for herself. At that moment, my daughter realized she had translated it correctly. Her big brown eyes go wide and she goes, oi, 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 oi. And I got inside her head, I said, this is scary. This is really crazy. Like, how do you lose yourself? I mean, I've lost my keys. I lost my doll the other day. I could even lose myself. And I realized that, yeah, that's a crazy thing. People talk about seeking themselves, finding themselves, losing themselves. I mean, what was she in? She was in a hotel. She checks out. Suddenly, myself. Wait a second. I could have sworn I had myself. I think maybe I left myself in the bathroom. Last time I saw myself was in the mirror of the bathroom. Maybe I'm still there. I mean, how do you lose yourself? Who is the self? But people talk like this. People talk about liking themselves. Who's the you that likes you? Sadly, I meet a lot of people that don't like themselves, which sounds even more crazy. How can you not like you? I've met people who hurt themselves. Who's the you that's hurting you? Who are we? I remember I was in the Upper West Side. Anyone here from the Upper West Side? Okay. So I'm from Toronto, Canada, but I was visiting in the Upper West Side, and I was in I went into a supermarket around Broadway and maybe 80th, something like that. And a fellow walks in and he's drunk. And he starts screaming, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. I don't know what to do, Well, the management called the police. And a policeman came in there very quickly. And the guy's screaming, they want to get him out of the supermarket. He's making a lot of noise. And so, but the policeman was very sweet. So he decides to engage the drunk man in a conversation. And the guy's screaming, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. So the policeman says, now, why are you going to kill yourself? And the guy's taken aback like somebody's actually talking to him. So he says, well, he thinks about it. He says, well, because my mama hates me and my papa hates me. And quite frankly, I hate me. So I'm going to kill myself. So, hey, you're right. It's Fairway. And somebody just put on the chat, I think it was Fairway. And so the policeman says, why are you going to kill yourself? And the guy says, well, because my mama hates me, my papa hates me, and I hate me. So he says, well, but what's that going to do for you? Like, how's that going to help you? So he's thinking, again, he's drunk, and he goes, well, because when I kill myself, I'm going to be happy. Yeah, I'm going to be real happy when I kill myself. So the policeman says, wait a second, listen to what you're saying. If you kill yourself, you're going to be dead. The guy says, huh? So, yeah. And if you're dead, how will you know you're happy if you're dead? And the guy says, wait a second. You mean if I kill myself, I'm going to be dead? Policeman says, that's right. He says, wait a second. If I'm dead, how will I know I'm happy? I'm dead. Policeman says, that's right. The guy goes, oh man, I can't even kill myself and be happy. Now, who did he think was going to survive his suicide? So what I want to share with you, and this is terminology that you will not find in the Kabbalah, but I'm using this terminology to explain ideas in Kabbalah. What I want to talk about is me, myself, and I. So imagine me, self, and I. Who's the me? Who's the self? Who's the I? So the first thing I want you to know is this fellow somehow intuited that he would survive his suicide. And he's not really wrong. According to Kabbalah, you, the self, is the soul. And you are a soul. So if you write on a piece of paper, me, self, I, write underneath self, soul. You are a soul. And you come in this world to play a character, which we're going to call me. So over top of the word me, write the word character. So there's you, soul, that comes into this world to play a character. Very much like an actor plays a character, you, soul, play a character. In other words, I am not Rabbi David Aaron. I am a soul. I am playing a character named Rabbi David Aaron. That character is a short, somewhat once upon a time redheaded rabbi. I shouldn't have given away that I'm short because on Zoom you probably think I'm tall. But lives in Jerusalem, married to Chana, a woman from Paris, 7 children. That's a character I play. I'm a son of a survivor, which is a very big part of the character that I play. I woke up to my mother screaming in the middle of the night, having nightmares of the concentration camp. That's a very big part of the character that I play. But I am not Rabbi David Aaron. That's a character that I play. I am a soul. And so are you. You are a soul. And the soul is the you before you got your name. The soul is a you before you got your character. The soul is you before you walked into your body. That's you. That's the real you. For instance, let me ask you, how many of you here can honestly say that you're not the same person today that you were 5 years ago? Say I. Put up your hand. I. Okay. How can you not be the same person you were 5 years ago? Well, that's the point. You are a soul. 5 years ago, you were playing a certain part, and now you're playing maybe a more evolved part, maybe very much a different part, but you're not the part you play, and that's where people get stuck, whereby they confuse the self, the essential self, the you, before your name, before the character, before the story, the you. That's the you. For instance, maybe you remember this when you were a child. How many of you recall, perhaps, when you were a child asking this crazy question? Who would I have been if my mother would have married another man? Anybody here recall ever asking that question? Okay, now isn't that a nutty question? Like, only a kid could come up with that. What do you mean? who would I have been if my mother would have married another man? I wouldn't have been me. No, you would have. You would have been you as a soul playing a different me, playing a different character. Again, the realization that we intuit a self that transcends our character. That's the true you, the self that transcends the character you're playing. When this drunken man wanted to commit suicide, who did he think was going to survive his suicide? And who did he think he was going to kill? He wanted to kill the homeless drunk that he was playing. He was tired of playing that part. And he assumed that if he could kill that homeless drunk, he could just walk away and be that pure soul, that pure consciousness. Well, so he's not wrong, but he's not right either. Not a good thing to do, to kill the character that you're playing. But we understand his pain, and we're certainly not judging him. But and quite frankly, when I was a kid, I wasn't sure if I was even David Aaron, because in my family I was the only one with red hair. Nobody had red hair. Now you should know, playing a redheaded character is not fun, especially when you're a kid, because everybody's got a comment for the redheaded kid. They call you, meathead or carrot top. I mean, the only answer I had to carrot top was the top of carrots were green. But other than that, everybody's got some comment about redheads. It wasn't fun being a redhead. And so I asked my mother, why do I have red hair? Nobody in our family, nobody has red hair. My mother told me that my father, when he was a child, had red hair. My problem with that was my father had black hair. So how did red hair as a child turn black was very strange. So I wasn't even sure. Maybe I'm not even David Aaron. Maybe I'm adopted. The only reason I was pretty sure I wasn't adopted is I knew my parents wouldn't spend that kind of money on me. But, who are you? You are a soul. And that's where we get stuck in our self-worth. You see, most people base their self-worth on their character, on their me. And the truth is, everything you can say about yourself is not about yourself. It's about your character. There's actually nothing you can say about yourself. The self is indescribable. That doesn't mean your self is the same as myself. Just like seeing cannot be described by anything I see. What color is seeing? What shape is seeing? Hearing cannot be described by anything I hear. What's the sound of hearing? Taste cannot be described by any flavors. But clearly seeing and hearing and taste are very different, let's call it colors of consciousness. Each and every one of you, and I'm talking about the you before your name, the you before your part. You are unique, but can't describe the uniqueness. Everything you describe about yourself is about your character. And most people base their self-worth on their character. They base their self-worth on how intelligent they are. What happens if you're not so intelligent when you get older, or maybe even before that? They base their self-worth on their great looks. Well, what happens when your great looks start to kind of not look so great? I have a friend, he has a picture of an old decrepitated woman on his desk. I asked him, is this your grandmother? He said, no. Is this your great aunt? He said, no. I said, who is this woman on your desk? He says, I don't personally know her. She was Miss America 1920. I said, wait a second. I might understand a man having a picture of Miss America 1920 taken in 1920. Why do you have a picture of Miss America when she's 90 years old and she looks terrible? He said, this picture humbles me and reminds me that she must have thought she was really something in 1920. What is our self-worth? Is this it? Is this me? When you talk to somebody, you're looking at their face. Are you talking to their face? You're talking to the soul. You're talking to the essential self. And so most people, their self-worth is their money, their body, their looks, their intelligence, their great job, how many friends they have on Facebook. Oh, by the way, my Facebook page is David Aaron. No, I'm just joking. Like how many likes I get. This is why people are miserable, because I call it miserable, because they're stuck in the me. Their whole sense of self is based on the me. And we know that the me is going to die. You see, I know that Rabbi Aaron is going to die. And I'm not thrilled about it. And I hope I play Rabbi David Aaron in good health till 120. You can write in the chat, amen. But Rabbi David Aaron is going to die. But I'm not going to die, because I'm not Rabbi David Aaron. I'm a soul. I'm a soul. And I want you to know that this is really the path, the spiritual path of Torah. It's learning how to live as a soul. And a lot of people get stuck in their character. And they know the character is going to die. So you are a soul, and you as a soul will never die. And you as a soul are playing a character. And most people, they think that they are their thoughts, or they are their emotions, or they are their physical sensations, but those are like clothing. I mean, let's just do an exercise right now, if you don't mind. I want you to close your eyes. Just don't fall asleep on me, because that'll destroy my self-worth. But close your eyes. I want you just to be aware of physical sensation. Be aware of maybe your back against the chair or your feet against the floor. Be aware of any discomfort in your body. Just observe. Just observe physical sensation. Now I want you in your head to say, I have physical sensation. I'm aware of my physical sensations, but I am not my physical sensations. I'm looking at them. I'm aware of them. I am not made of them. Now I want you to go up the ladder of consciousness. We're calling this real self-awareness, soul awareness. I want you to be aware of emotions. Just be aware of emotions right now. Just any emotion. I mean, I'm sure you're all feeling tremendous joy because you're listening to Rabbi David Aaron, so you must all be feeling tremendous joy. So be aware of the joy in your heart. Just be aware of any emotion that you're feeling. Now, don't get stuck in it. Just look at it. And then you're in your head, say, I have emotions. I'm aware of my emotions, but I am not my emotions. Now I want you to go up higher. I want you to be aware of thought. Just look at thoughts, thousands of thoughts. I read that someone said we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Just be aware of a thought. Look at it as if it's a leaf in a stream, and just watch it go by. Don't go with it. Don't get trapped in it. Don't get lost in your thought. Be aware of the thought. Be aware of the thoughts. In your eyes, in your mind, say, I have thoughts. I see my thoughts. I'm aware of my thoughts, but I'm not made of thought. So if you're not your physical sensations, and you're not your emotions, and you're not your thoughts, who are you? You're that pure field of awareness. You are soul. This is the practice of soulfulness. You've heard of mindfulness. This is soulfulness. So now you can open up your eyes. The more we can get in touch with ourselves, our true selves as souls, the better off we're going to be. And we need to speak a language which I call it soulpan, not ulpan, soulpan. learning how to speak the language of your soul. This is how you as a soul should talk. If you're ever depressed, never say, I am depressed, because then you become depression. You identify with depression. Say, I feel depressed. There's a big difference. I am not depressed, but I do feel depressed. I acknowledge the feelings of depression, but I don't become those feelings. I'm not denying them. They're there, but I'm not them. Because if you are depressed, then when you stop being depressed, you die. You've become your depression. For instance, have you ever experienced yourself perhaps really, really sad? So sad that you begin to cry. Have you ever experienced while you're crying, there's something about you observing you crying? And maybe a little voice in your head saying, I'm gonna be okay. Have you ever experienced that where you're kind of in the tears, but also observing the tears? It's a mysterious human thing about how we can be both the actor and the audience of our lives. Or perhaps this, have you ever lost your temper? I'm not going to ask you to volunteer that information, but perhaps you've lost your temper. Have you ever, started yelling at somebody, but there's something about you that's very aware of you yelling at this person, saying, you better stop, you're looking like an idiot, this is not going to be good for you. There's a weird thing that you're in the anger, but there's something about you outside the anger, observing the anger. This is a soul moment. Don't get lost in your character. Don't get lost in your thoughts. Don't get lost in your emotions. Whenever you're feeling sad, you might want to look at the sadness and imagine what color it is. Imagine what shape it is. To get some distance from the feeling and not become locked and trapped in the feeling. This way you stay in the space of soulfulness, because you are a soul that has thoughts, has feelings, has sensations, but is not the thoughts or the feelings or the sensations. You are that pure field of awareness. It's like a mirror. Imagine if a mirror, every time something went in front of it, would think, "Oh, I'm a dog," and then a cat would go in front of the mirror. "Oh, wait, maybe I'm a cat." So too, when we stay in that place of soulfulness, we begin to realize that I am a soul, and I'm not my character, although I do have a character and I play my character. But I don't get lost in my character. I don't get lost. I used to teach an actor by the name of Kirk Douglas. I don't know if any of you heard of him. He's an old actor, died at age 104. Wow. And he told me when I shared this idea with him, he said, "My gosh, they teach this in acting school." I say, "They teach Kabbalah in acting school?" He said, "Well, they teach that an actor should never get lost in his part." He says, "I have to be in my part, but also outside my part, because I have to land in front of the camera." He said, very often when people would come up to him and say, "Oh my gosh, you just got lost in Spartacus, you became Mickey Marcus." He says, "No, you got lost in Spartacus. That's my job as an actor, to get the audience lost in the character, but I can't get lost in my character. I have to be in my character, but not get lost in my character, be out of my character at the same time." He told me something really amazing. He said that he kept getting the same kind of characters: tough, mean guy, thief, or villain, or criminal, or macho, whatever it was always the same kind of parts. And then he heard that they were auditioning for the story of Vincent van Gogh, a movie that was going to be called Lust for Life. And Kirk said, "I wanted that part because it was like out of character for me. And I knew that I was a true actor if I could play that part, get that part." So he auditioned for the part and he actually got it. And he was thrilled because it was completely out of character of any part he'd ever played before. Well, he gets a call from his friend, his good buddy, John Wayne. And John calls him up when the news breaks that Kirk Douglas is going to play Vincent van Gogh, a struggling, sensitive artist. John says to Kirk, Kirk, is this true? Tell me it's not true. You took a sissy part like the story of the artist Vincent van Gogh. He said, Kirk, what's a cowboy like you taking a sissy part like this? Kirk said to John Wayne, John, we're not cowboys. We're actors. And Kirk said that John was not a good actor because John kept playing cowboys until he thought he was a cowboy. But a real actor can play any part. That's soulfulness. Can you transcend? Can you act out of character? Not always. You will not be always asked to act out of character. But once in a while, the Creator will send you a situation to free you from your character so that you can live from that place of soul. Are you in the driver's seat of your life? Or have you become your car? So let's go now up. We said me, self, I. The self is the soul. The me is the character. Our self-worth is not coming from our character. We'll come back to the role of the character in a second, but we make a terrible mistake to think that our character is based on our soul is based on our character, because you know, if your self-worth is based on your money, what happens when you lose your money? If your self-worth is based on your great looks, what happens when you don't look so great? When your self-worth is based on your fabulous job, what happens if they fire you? If your self-worth is based on your boyfriend or your girlfriend, what happens if they dump you? Then what happens? So you're a soul. Well, so what is your self-worth based on? So for that, we have to go to the I. Now, what I'm about to share is really a huge paradigm shift, because the I is what some people call God. And why do I say this is very radical for a lot of people? Because when we're children, we are told that God, or we are led to believe that God is some infinite, eternal being somewhere in heaven over there. But according to the Kabbalah, God is the soul of our souls. God is the self of the universe. That if God were the sun, you, soul, would be a ray of his light. You are a soul, and a soul is a ray of God. You're not God. You know, don't make that mistake, because I am, and so I don't want you guys get confused here. No, I'm not God either. You are a soul. A soul is a ray of the soul of all souls. And you as a soul have been given a part to play, which we'll deal with in a second. I'll give you an example. You know, what happened at Sinai? You've heard that according to Torah, there was some revelation at Sinai. So most people imagine that the creator of the world floated down from heaven and started to speak to the Jewish people. But according to Kabbalah, the first words they heard was Anochi Hashem Elokecha, which according to Kabbalah means I am, all there ever was, is, and ever will be. Elokecha, I am the soul of your soul. That's what that means. You see, the first Russian astronaut, when he went into outer space, when they asked him, what do you see? He said, I don't see God. What did he think he'd see? He's in a spaceship. Suddenly in the middle of outer space, two huge eyes appear and a hand waving, hello, I'm God. What took you so long? You see, most people think that the reason why they can't see God is because he's somewhere in heaven. The reason why you can't see God is the same reason you can't see yourself. You can't see yourself. You can see a reflection of yourself, but you can't see yourself because you're doing the seeing. The reason why you can't see God is the same reason you can't see yourself, because God is your higher, greater self. God is the self that we share with each other. We all share one self. And that's an amazing experience. We all share one self. I met God in the, I met God at rock concerts when I was a teenager. I didn't know I was meeting God. But my favorite moment in the rock concerts was when thousands of people would suddenly hold a match. Now, sadly, today, people hold their cell phone. That is a desecration of rock and roll. But once upon a time, people would hold a match. I remember I must have been maybe 15 years old, and I'd look around and thousands of people holding match. I didn't have a match. I turned to the guy, you have a match, you have a match, you have a match. Finally got a match, and I held that match, and I felt so good. And it was an incredible experience. And I waited for that experience for every concert I went to. And I realized only later on in my life that that was a ritual, because what we were experiencing at those concerts was a sense of a shared self that transcended and embraced and united all of us. That is a moment of God in your life. You know, it's at the sports where people do the wave. We have all these rituals that try to release from within the unconscious a deep sense that I am part of a greater self, that I share with all of being, all beings. Think of it like this. Here's a metaphor. Think of it as, let's say, right in my room right now, there's a light bulb, there's an air conditioner, and there's a kettle. They're all connected to the same self, electricity. When electricity flows through the air conditioner, the power of cooling becomes manifest. When the electricity flows through the kettle, the power of heating becomes manifest. And when the electricity flows through the light bulb, the power of lighting becomes manifest. Okay, so let's go back to me, myself, and I. Okay, the I would be electricity. The me would be the air conditioner. The self would be the power of cooling. All right. The me would be the kettle. The self would be the power of heating. And the self of all selves would be electricity. Right this very second, although we are all in different parts of the world, I'm in Israel. Most of you, I think, we're all somewhere in different parts of America. But right now, in some very deep level, we actually share oneself, and that's what Judaism means when it says God. Carl Jung said a very deep thing. He actually says that he was very influenced by teachings of Kabbalah, although he himself was not Jewish. Carl Jung said, I simply believe that we are part of a soul that transcends time and space. And that is true. We are part of a soul that transcends time and space. That's what we mean when we say God. So who are you? You're a soul. What is a soul? A ray of God. You. Now, when I say you, don't let your ego intercept and think, oh, me, Elizabeth. Oh, me, Paulina. Oh, me, Alfred. Oh, it's so great to have people's names here. You think I'm like, suddenly I could think I'm like psychic. Oh, me, Julian. No, we're not talking about me. We're talking about the self. The self is the soul. And the soul is literally a part of God. Now, God doesn't break up into parts, like a pizza, a facet of God, an aspect of God. The crazy thing is that each and every one of us actually think that we matter so much. I mean, scientifically, we are much less than 7 billionth of a speck of dust. Yet deep inside, we know that I'm not no one, I'm someone, and you are someone. You're some of the one. There's one self, one field of consciousness. That's what we mean when we say God. At Sinai, we heard, I am, all there ever was, is, and ever will be. There is only one I am. And that one I am is the soul of your souls. So what is the source of genuine self-worth? It's called service. Service is when I, as a soul, serve to bring through my character something about the truth that we all share one soul. Something about the truth that God is one. That brings you back to your character. Your character is not the source of self-worth, but your character is a vehicle for your self-worth. Your self-worth is, how am I in service and promoting in the world a little more awareness that we are all one. And war is stupid. It's as stupid as my right hand trying to kill my left hand. Why would I do that? Because we got lost in our character. We got lost in our egos. We forgot who we are. You know, I've had students say to me, listen, Rabbi, this is my life and I can do with it as I please. I said, okay, you know what? Let's explore, if you don't mind, all of you, if you don't mind. Let's explore how much of your life is your life. I'm going to ask you all for the next 20 seconds to turn off your hearts, if you don't mind. I'll let you know when you can turn them back on, okay? Everybody ready? Okay, that's crazy, right? Can't turn off your heart off and on at will. But wait a second, if you can't turn your heart off and on at will, then that means that you're not beating your heart. Because if you were beating your heart, you should be able to turn it off and on. So if you're not beating your heart, then who is? Whoever that is, I suggest we stay in good contact. Now, what about my mind? My thoughts. I'm thinking thoughts. Okay, let's see how much you're thinking thoughts. I'm going to ask you for 5 seconds to stop thinking. You can't stop thinking. You're always thinking. What you think might be your choice. That you think, and that you have no choice. Right now, there are 17 muscles in my face that have to work in perfect coordination for every syllable to come out of my mouth. Now, I don't even know where there's place in my face for 17 muscles. But more than that, I don't even know how to talk. I don't know how to do this. I mean, this is what I do as my profession. I don't know how to do what I do all day long. So wait a second. Is this really Rabbi David Aaron giving this talk? I don't know how to think. I don't know how to move. I don't know how to talk. Is this really Rabbi David Aaron? Basically, all the powers within us are not from us. I didn't teach my mind to think. I didn't teach my heart to feel. I didn't teach my hands to move. The truth is that every breath you take and every move you make, he's not just watching you. That's from the great Kabbalist Stinger Rabbi, okay? The Stinger Rebbe teaches, right now you are witnessing a partnership between the soul of all souls and soul playing Rabbi David Aaron. You are witnessing a cooperation between the divine soul and the character David Aaron. And the truth is, most of this class, I have nothing to do with. What I did is I chose to show up. I chose with good intentions to be in service of a higher power to work through me. You know, most people have heard Friedrich Nietzsche taught that God is dead. What most people are not familiar with is Friedrich Nietzsche said that unless you experience an infinite whole working through you, your life has no meaning. What was he talking about? Who's this infinite whole? Well, you know, it's a matter of semantics. Call it God, call it Hashem. Whatever you call the infinite whole, you are part of an infinite whole that's seeking to become present in the world through you and the character you play. The character you play is not the source of your self-worth. It's a vehicle for what you've come into this world to do. But that is who you are. That's the divine you. You are a soul. A soul is a part of the soul of all souls, a one shared self. You've been given a part to play. And what you do with that part is use it to promote the truth that God is one. There is none but the one God, and I am someone, and you are someone. We are some of the one. And each and every one of us is a masterpiece, a piece of the master. There's a master self, and then you are a soul. And you are a soul. And you as a soul have come into this world to bring something about the truth that we are one. And oh my gosh, here I am in Jerusalem. Just Thursday, missiles are flying, riots are going on. From my home, I could hear bullets shooting. My son and my grandchildren could hear missiles landing and windows shattering. And it's all because we don't know who we are. The only reason people are hurting people is because those people are hurting. Only people that are hurting are trying to hurt people. And why are we hurting? Because we forgot who we are. We are souls. And a soul is a part of one self that we all share, the soul of all souls. And we've been given strengths as well as weaknesses to be used in order to become conscious of the one self that we're all part of. And that's what it means, love your neighbor as yourself. I am God. When you realize that I am God, that the I, the one I is all there ever was, is, and ever will be. There's only one I, and yourself and myself are rays of that one self. Then all this stupidity of war and hate will be gone. So that's what I wanted to share. If you're interested in a little bit more of what I teach, I have a website called rabbidavidaaron.com. I have a tremendous amount of audio files available for free. I've written 8 books. And if you want to get my weekly teachings, you can sign on over there. And I want to thank you, Rabbi, for making this fabulous gathering together of many souls as part of one soul. And let's hear some questions.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Aaron, for joining us and sharing that really game-changing concept. One question here says, how do you propose that Israel can promote to its enemies this idea that we are all one, that we are, that's the question.
Well, I think we have to start with those who are willing to talk and like really willing to talk. The sad thing is, I believe that a lot of Palestinians genuinely want peace. I believe many of them are victims of a leadership that is corrupt, and it's very sad. But it starts with conversation. In fact,
yeah, that's a good spot.
If people have heard of Mashiach, Messiah, Rabbi Nachman of Bretzville explains that Mashiach comes from the word sicha, which means dialogue. It says that the Messiah's power will be, he will be able to enable us to engage in dialogue. And when there's a willingness to really sit and talk, then we'll have peace.
Another question was, how do we stay in a field of soul awareness when we're in the midst of an emotional crisis?
Okay. Well, so that's what I call, rather than learning mindfulness, I call it soulfulness. When you're in the midst of that emotional crisis, try and well, first of all, take a couple of deep breaths and try and objectify the emotion. Don't get lost in the emotion. Don't become the emotion. You might want to, in Jungian therapy, they would give names to emotions. Oh, there goes angry Andrew. I'm not angry Andrew, and you just try to get some space from the emotion by observing it, maybe giving it a color or a shape or a name, but somehow take some distance from it and not become it.
Do you have anything to say? Alfred wanted to point out that Nietzsche wasn't claiming God was dead. He was observing that God had been killed off by rational modern society, but he himself was spiritual.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's true. The sad thing is most people don't know that about Nietzsche, and they assume that he was pronouncing the death of God. I think he was pronouncing how also religion had killed God, in terms of like really a living God in people's lives were no longer. Nietzsche said to, I don't know, I'm sure he would say to lots of different religions, but I read that he said to the Christians, if you want me to embrace religion, then sing me better songs. Meaning he felt that, you're boring me to death. I mean, what can I say? We've got to come back to the path of soulfulness.
What are your thoughts on getting Zen with aspects of the me that are not to our liking? I have a feeling you'll say that's not the me, but.
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad, and you ask any question, but that specific question. There was a fellow that went to a great master and he asked him for the secret to happy life. And the master said, wood, wires, and nails. Contemplate and you will have the secret. Well, so the fellow contemplated for many weeks and just didn't get the secret. And he forgot about that meeting with the master until many, many years later, when he heard some beautiful guitar music down the street from him. And it was enchanting, and it was so beautiful that he decided that he would follow his ears to this, who is this mysterious musician. And there in the park was a fellow playing his guitar under the moonlight. And he sat there and he enjoyed the music, and suddenly he heard in his head wood, wires, and nails. And he realized the secret of life. With wood, wires, and nails, you could create a weapon. With wood, wires, and nails, you could create a guitar. There's nothing wrong with wood, wires, or nails. The problem is how you assemble it. There is nothing wrong. There's no such thing as a character flaw, just bad assembly, And so when a person says, I got to get rid of this character trait, no, don't worry about the character trait. It's how you're using the character trait. Person might have an inclination to anger. Anger is not a bad thing. We should get angry at evil in the world. People that don't get angry at evil don't do anything about it. But the question is, where do you use your anger? How do you use your anger? But this is the mistake people make. They're looking at their character and thinking, oh my gosh, I've just got to get a complete remake of my character. No, we want to reassemble the character. And so one of the good things you could do is sit down and write down your character traits, what you perceive to be negative and what you perceive to be positive. And then look at those negative traits and see, how can I use it in service of a higher purpose of bringing more oneself consciousness to the world, bringing God consciousness to the world?
I love that. We are wrapping up, guys. I want you also after this to